Hi guys, Blake here today with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful upper Lake Taneycomo. It is Wednesday, the 12th of May. Did good, I didn't have to check my phone. And I'm going to do the one cast for you today. So, today I boated up to the cable. You can see the 5 gates running there at 1 foot apiece. And today I am going to start off with, I'm going to try a few different things in a few different spots. So we're gonna move around the lake a little bit today. But we're going to start off here with a Signature Series 110+1 Rainbow. And I've got that on 8-pound monofilament line. The line I use for this rod specifically is P-line. You don't need to use P-line, it's a little expensive. But it does seem to hold up well. We don't carry the P-line in the shop though. But we do carry some 6-pound tests. You can also use 6-pound to work these 110+1s. It'll hold it just fine. And I like monofilament a little bit better. I think that it holds abrasions and twists better than the fluorocarbon does, at least whenever I'm fishing it. We're gonna start off right here. I'm spot locked. I'm about 30 or 40 foot off the bank, about 20 or 30 foot away from the cable. And what happens a lot of the time is that these warm water species like walleye and smallmouth and white bass will come over the dam, and there's kind of a, you may be able to see it on the camera here, but you may not. Looks like there's a smudge on the camera. Get rid of that. Hang it. I think that helped. But there's a piece of land that jets out about in front of the first 5 gates there, and it creates a big eddy pocket right here, and there's some nice deep bank structure with a lot of rocks, and those fish will get in here and they'll get into this slow water where the water's warmer, and they'll get up against those rocks, and sometimes you can find some walleye. I had a buddy who walked down this cliff earlier today and was fishing this bank here, and he said he caught some walleye and some white bass. So it's probably about 12:30, 12:40 in the PM. So not the most ideal time to get out here and do this, but if those fish are over there, we might get one of them to hit. So whenever I spot lock, I like to drop back from the cable a little bit so that I can cast up at a 45-degree angle and kind of let that bait swing down through this eddy water. And you really want to get that cast right up against that bank. If there's any of those walleye, they'll follow it for a while. But you got to get it right in where they're at. Nothing on the first cast. So, fishing reports for today. Dwayne had a trip this morning. And they got out here early this morning and worked this exact bait that I'm using right now, the 110+1 Signature Series Rainbow. And they caught a 21-inch rainbow and a 20-inch rainbow. So 2 trophies in the boat this morning for them on the jerk bait. I didn't get a chance to ask him if the bite was really good this morning on the jerk bait or if they just caught a couple big ones. But I do know that was working for them. Captain Bill Babler said that he drug some jerk baits this morning up here in the trophy area, and He said you had to pick your spot. There's only a few spots, like from Andy's down a little bit, or from like the clay banks, but he said there's only a few spots that were clean enough for him to drag a jerkbait, but that they were catching them really well on the jerkbait when they did find an area that was clean up here in the trophy area. And he said the other thing they caught him on was eggs and scuds. I'll try a few more casts with this and then I'll get moving. I might try fishing this bank down just a little bit with the jerkbait. Because honestly, this whole bank almost down to the island is kind of the warm water side. It's kind of slower water compared to over there by the generators. And there's a lot of the rock structure that goes down along this bank. So those different species, including trout, will be over here on this side in those eddies. I'm going to go ahead and take spot lock off. The best time to get out here and do this, these bigger jerk baits, is first thing in the morning, first hour of light, and then the last hour or two of light. That's going to be your real prime time for jerkbait fishing. But I have had days just in the middle of the day, like right now, where they were really amped up to chase something. So it's not impossible, and there's always a chance of catching that really big fish on these, even during the middle of the day. What I'm doing here is called slapping the line on the water. I'm leaving some slack in that line no matter what, and I'm popping that slack out, and it's causing that bait to jerk back and forth very sporadically. That's the trout that's the action that you want to get when you're specifically targeting trout, but all these other species like it too. So I've noticed that the walleye and the bass generally like a little bit longer of a pause after you get some action, and the rainbow trout specifically like that pause too. They'll usually hit it on the pause. Oh, there was a big boy chasing me. It was a rainbow trout, but he was definitely in the 20-inch range. But the brown trout, they don't like so much of a pause. They actually usually attack it while you're moving it. And if you leave it setting for too long, they'll swim away uninterested. Got one more pocket I want to attack. Down here on the bank, there's a real big, another cut in on the bank where there's kind of an eddy and a swirl, and I've caught some walleye out of that swirl before. is something that you do to try to find a bigger fish, and a lot of the time it doesn't produce a lot of fish. I believe yesterday morning, Dwayne had a trip and caught 3 fish over 20, including a 23-inch brown. So it can definitely pays off if you put the time and effort in. But I'm gonna go ahead and put that down. I'm gonna throw a white jig for just a second, and then we are gonna scoot down to the clay banks. Right now we're dropping in just below outlet 2 across. We're going to go in behind the island here if I can maneuver properly. Alright, this one I've got 2-pound test, an 1/8 ounce Lilley's white jig. I'll go ahead and sit down. This white jig right now is going to be kind of a staple just because they're periodically seeing shad come through the water, and I did see a shad drift by the boat on my way up here. So when in doubt, get along these bank edges and work that white jig. I talked to Captain HP on my way up here, and they said they had caught fish dragging a scud, an egg pattern, and primarily a shad fly. So sounds like they were catching them on all 3, and they were going through the narrows when I saw them, so they might have been fishing the narrows most of the day. Once you get down below the island, it's still fishing the south side. The water, when it's this high, gets back up in these trees and bushes back here, and I have found not only those warm water species but some nice trout sitting right on the edge in that structure. So I like to fish that when I go by. But I think this is going to be my last cast, and I'm going to zoom down to clay banks. Oh, that felt like a bite. I lied. This is my last cast. Alright, I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to zoom down to clay banks, then I'm going to I'll be back on. So alright, I am back, and I am going to start off dragging a 606 model. This is the Signature Series Ghost Shad. I've taken the belly hook off, got about 2.5 foot of 4-pound line to my snap swivel and barrel swivel, and I think I have a 1/4 ounce weight on there, and I do not want a 1/4 ounce weight. Trade that 1/4 ounce out for an 1/8 ounce, because you just don't need that much when you're dragging a jerkbait. And I don't use the term clay banks very often, so that might sound confusing, but so right here below Trophy Run, they've got their gravel big rock bank going down, and then right below that is the what we call the clay banks. We've got a pretty strong wind blowing here. Might mess up my drift a little bit. But right here in this spot between the island, this kind of the skinnier chute that you have to go through, the water gets shallower and narrower through here, and it makes kind of a tunnel. And then as it goes through here, it really cleans out the lake to the bedrock, and the water runs through here so fast all the time, and so it's kind of a different kind of structure down there versus all the pea gravel and rock that's up here. But it does leave it open for bait fish and stuff to swim through without having any structure to hide in. So sometimes dragging the jerk baits through this little section works pretty good. But I think I already picked up about 7 pounds of moss right there. Beautiful day here. It's supposed to get to about 65 or 67. And once we get right to where that bank ends, where they've got all that rock, ooh, that was a fish, I'm just going to scoot a little in closer to the clay banks there. We got one chasing it. He's hit it a few good times and just hasn't got the hook in his mouth. Go ahead and reel that in and scoot over here. I still did manage to pick up some moss down there, so it's not completely cleaned out. Well, this is definitely one of those things I probably needed to take a practice run at, because I am finding all the moss and none of the fish. We'll throw it out there and try it one more time. This would be one of those times where you had one rod rigged up with scuds to drag and another with jerk baits, and once you found the clean areas you break out the jerk baits, and when you're going through the mossier areas you break out the scuds. Well, I think the fish beat me today. It's been a while since they beat me, but they beat me. Oh, I might have spoke too soon. Well, anyway, we surely appreciate you guys watching today. Like and share us on Facebook, and we'll get out here and do it for you again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.